This is the We Witches 3 podcast, where you will hear the opinion of 3 seasoned witches who are tired of glossy, tunnel vision, love and light accolades about serious metaphysical topics. Your host, Charlene, Maria Sewell, and Heather Woodworth have been practicing witches and professional psychics for over 20 years. They not only have the experience, but they have the research to back it up. So get comfortable on your brooms, grab a snack, and get ready for a wild ride. Hello, everyone, and today we're talking about the Wiccan Rede and how some people take it just a little bit too far.
First, let's establish what we're talking about when we're referring to the Wiccan Rede, because in doing the research for this, we have what is commonly referred to as the Wiccan Rede, as established by Doreen Valiente in 1964, which is just a rhyming couplet. And then we also have a poem that was written later titled The Rede of the Wicca, which is also oftentimes by a large number of covens referred to as the Wiccan Rede, which came out in 1975, which has a lot more rules to it. So, in researching things, I discovered there is some dispute about what is the Wiccan Rede itself.
For me, I don't know anything about the Wiccan Rede. I'm not Wiccan at all. It's always that harm none, and then also the ×3 thing. That drives me crazy. Those are the only 2 things I know about the Wiccan Rede. So this is going to be a fun conversation for me.
Right, and harm none, do what you will. The things come back around to you ×3 is usually referred to as the rule of 3.
The rule of 3,
both
yeah, that
are
one.
included in the longer poem I mentioned that came out in 1975 later, which is actually like 26 lines long.
The big one is when you ask for any kind of, so in Facebook groups or just any forum, anytime you ask for a spell, especially anything that has to do with hexing, binding, or anything that's getting a lover back, people say that all the time. Are you sure you want to do that? Because it comes back to you 3 times.
Well, I always think of the, and harm none, do what you will, which is like, you're just not allowed to hurt people whatsoever. You know, which is a very old-timey way of saying, do what you want, just don't hurt anyone.
For a good chunk of my first couple years of my, I guess, magical existence, I was Wiccan. I was a sole practitioner at first. And then I think maybe like 5 years later, or actually more than that, I joined a traditional coven. This is what I didn't like about Wicca in particular. One, there's no definitive answer as to what is harm none. Because if you think about it, there's no way of, society tells us what's wrong and what's right, what's moral and what isn't. But at the same time, it's your own moral judgment. So if you have like a bunch of witches or Wiccans telling you, hey, that's wrong, but it isn't wrong for you, does that still count? So if I do
it's about wrong or right, it's about harming people.
Yeah, but the thing is that what if I don't feel like if I'm harming anybody? What if I don't feel that I'm harming anyone when I'm doing a particular spell? But for them, it is harming just because it is a spell that says, a particular word in it, or it has a particular outcome that for them is wrong. Do you see what I'm getting at? That's what I don't like.
I can spin any situation for any spell you cast in a way that you're going to harm someone.
Exactly. So I've been around Wiccans that, and I'm not saying anything like negative about Wiccans in a sense of like, they're stupid or they're not good enough or they're not, they're not real witches or any. I'm not saying that at all, because I do know Wiccans that that have a lot of knowledge. They can do a lot of things, they just don't. I've met Wiccans that have been like, hey, I have a friend who's in the hospital. The doctors don't know if they're going to be brain dead or not. They're in a coma. What can we do? A healing spell on him? And I remember having one particular person in that group of friends that I was, like talking about doing something for this person, literally said, wait, do you think that he would want us to heal him? Because we can't go against his will, because that would be against the Wiccan Rede.
But that's like the baby Hitler argument.
What's the baby Hitler argument?
If you had a chance to go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you do it?
No.
If you were a doctor in the time of Hitler and baby Hitler had a dire illness and you knew what he was going to become in the future, would you save him?
Yes. Because we don't know what the future holds, and there could be a second Hitler that's 3 times as bad as Hitler. Then the second one about if he had an illness and you could treat him or he could die.
Mm-hmm.
I would treat him because it's my job as a doctor, if I were a doctor, to heal. It's not my job to judge.
Inaction would not be acceptable.
As a doctor, I would feel I didn't do my due diligence if I were to let him die. That's not my choice to make.
Knowing people he would have hurt and kill and maim and destroy later.
Yeah, because who knows? He could have been the lesser evil. And there could have been something that happened during his time that had to happen. I mean, Hitler just didn't kill people. He was very much into astrology and mysticism, and he was very much into witchcraft. A lot of the people that he worked with actually furthered their field in science and technology. So there was a lot of good that came out of Hitler, even though people don't want to talk about that part.
You know, along the lines of the argument, the better the devil you know than the devil you don't, there's no way to know that technology wouldn't have evolved without him.
And I don't think that killing Hitler was gonna change too much. I mean, there's Mussolini too, and there's plenty of other dictators out there that did horrible things as well. So I don't know. For me, it seems too black and white.
The argument was, when I was with my friends, are we going against this guy's will? Maybe he wants to die. And I'm there like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't. And she's like, well, okay, I just want to make sure and that everybody agrees that we might be going against his will and that might come back to haunt us. I'm pretty sure that he's going to be okay with this. Just to let you guys know, he actually woke up 2 days later. Had no issues, nothing.
I think part of it too is that us as energetic beings, if he really wanted to die, he would not take in on the energy in the first place. Like,
exactly.
Just because you did the spell doesn't mean that he has to adhere to that, because his soul would have said, no, I want to die X day on the spell A.
Do you guys, okay, spoilers, do you guys remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series?
Yeah.
And how they brought her back?
I don't remember that part.
I remember some part of it, yeah. She doesn't have like a soul, or she's not happy when she comes back.
She's not happy in heaven, and heaven's kind of a nice place, and they brought her back. She was super depressed, and then she had that weird, like, unhealthy relationship with Spike.
Yes, I remember that. That was a weird relationship.
It was not healthy, for obvious reasons.
Because he was still a vampire. He was still evil vampire. He just liked her.
Other reasons, too.
I think.
It was just such a weird, like... the last few seasons of Buffy the Vampire, I was like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah.
But that's like the same kind of thing. Like, why would we bring him back if he was potentially going to a better place and he was ready to let go? Force him to be on this hellscape when he had a way out.
You know? I don't know.
I would say, like, look, if he was meant to die, no matter how much I would pray, no matter how much I would cast spells, if he's meant to die, he will die. That's my thing. Like, for me, if you're meant to die at a certain period in time, there is no amount of, let me, change my path today. If you were meant to die, you were meant to die.
So you don't believe in checkout points?
What do you mean checkout points?
Like, when you have the option, do you want to stay or do you want to go? I
think you can make that decision, but when you get there, the path to getting there, that is already, like, written. You can't get out of that. Okay. But to decide whether or not you want to stay and survive it, that's up to you. But when it comes to, like, oh, this is the day that you almost die, or you are going to die, but it's today.
If it's your time, it's your time. And there's nothing you can do. So you believe that, like, Destiny, where you run into situations that you have no control over, where you then have the option, do you stay or do you go?
Right.
But you also said previously, if it's your time, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Meaning it's your time to go, to either to die and have that experience, that you get to that point where you make that decision.
It sounded before like you were saying, like, if it's your time to die, then it's your time to die, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to die. Like, maybe you can change how you die, but you're still going to die.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking, yeah, you can definitely change how you die. You can, obviously you can't be like, well, I'm thinking a car crash. Oh, it's a little too messy. It's not like that kind of change or decisions.
Right. Like Final Destination. You dodged the lumber truck, but now you're going to be electrocuted.
Exactly, like that. But you can decide at the end, like, when you get to that point, whether or not you're going to survive it or not. But
okay, so then you get executed.
Something's going to happen.
Then you have to face a choice.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so you're going to confront death one way or another.
Right. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is where it gets tricky with the Wiccan Rede, though, because, like, this whole, like, harm and free will stuff, because, like, I think you can, especially with spell work, even if you bind somebody, if they don't want to be bound, it's not really going to work that well. You know what I mean? It may work for a little bit, but they're going to break out of it. Some people resist bindings. Like, you can do the greatest binding spell, but if a really stubborn person, it's not going to work. You know what I mean? It'll work for a little while.
Oh, I know from personal experience, yes.
Totally with being bound. I've never ran into that situation.
Yeah.
Where someone was like, oh, you're doing a binding on me? Thanks. I'm just going to relax now.
There's a lot of people that are like that. They're just really complicit.
Yeah. Well, I've met people that are very like passive aggressive, and they're just like, ugh, whatever, and they just don't care, and they'll just get binded.
Oh, see, then I would think that like binding was kind of an extreme maneuver, but okay.
It really depends on the person. Like if they have like a very strong will, then yeah, they're gonna fight the binding, whether it be like consciously or unconsciously. But if they're very much like one of those people that like they're like, whatevs. It's not like it's really affecting my life, I guess. You know, those people like can get binded really easily. Oh, see, like with a picture, with like you just saying that you bind them.
I would think
they're pretty much
in that
bound.
Situation where someone was like, I don't really care, it's not going to affect my life. Like a binding wouldn't really be where you went with that.
The thing is that they're complicit to it. The way that I see it is like when people are like that complicit about a binding, their life is already shit. That they're just like, well, it's another shitty day, another shitty thing in my life. Oh, well, you know, they're like, it's not like it's going to make it any worse than it already is. You know, it's kind of like that.
Not to say that we bind everybody all the time.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. Like
I like that you guys are binding willing participants because the normal community is binding unwilling people. So that's actually a positive spin on a usually negative situation. So... No. Like, you guys went all, like, white witchcraft on binding right now. So, right on. That's a cool twist. I'm with it.
They just don't know or they don't care or they just kind of take in whatever energy is present. Like, a lot of times I'm like, oh, someone's doing some kind of spell work. And then I'm like, I gotta banish this shit. You know what I mean? And, like, I'm fully aware. A lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people are like, well, I'll just let this energy in. We'll see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, like a Taurus. You never bind a Taurus because they're like, what the fuck? You go around the Taurus. You don't go through with the Taurus.
Right. But see, that's the whole thing, too. I don't understand about the Wiccan Rede. These are choices that we make. I mean, there's plenty of spell work that I have done. Like, I'm just going to say right now, I am not Wiccan. And I said that at the beginning. Not Wiccan. I practice hoodoo. I'm kind of a eclectic witch. I pull from a lot of different places, and that's my choice. But I have done some hexes. I have done some negative spell work, and I always feel justified. So I'm like, I don't really care if it comes back at me through, because I know it's not, because I have all my ducks in a row, and I believe in that anyway. But
but your ducks are still in a row, just in case.
Just in case, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. But I'm not one of the people that just does it like right out of the gate. I'm like, oh, I'm pissed, I'm going to do it. No, I write it out. These are the reasons. Are these reasons justifiable to me? Do I see any caveats in this where maybe I'm just being an asshole right now? And if I am being an asshole right now, am I okay with being an asshole? You know what I mean? These are questions that I ask myself. And then if I feel like there's no other way but this way to give the energy back, or maybe a boomerang spell or a hexing, then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm totally going to do it. And I feel like with Wicca, especially, you don't have that leeway.
No,
because people are just like super judgy about it.
No, I feel like with the Rede and their rule of 3, that like hexes and bindings and curses and all that stuff are just like right out of the.
What kind of spells do you do?
You send them love and light and hope that a good hug solves all your problems. I'm pretty sure they just throw love and light at it, right? Like, let's send healing spells, or let's send them peace and love and... No.
The way that I was taught when I was a Wiccan, because I am not Wiccan anymore, I haven't been Wiccan for many years. When I was a Wiccan, I always noticed that most of the spells were very non-specific on people. So if, like, let's say you wanted to do a love spell, you could do a love spell, but you could not specifically target a living person that you knew. I want a person that looks like this, and he looks a lot like Tom, but I'm not specifically saying Tom, but what? He looks just like him. You know something? I'm going to throw a picture of Tom just to give you an idea of what I'm looking for. I've seen Wiccans do binding spells, but it's binding spells that are very like light. Time that I was in a coven, only type of spells that we ever casted it was healing spells and protection spells. Prosperity spells. But it was prosperity spells for us, in the sense that it was for us to be more prosperity in every aspect of our lives, whatever that may be. Let's say if I opened a business, we didn't do like spells like, oh, our customers are going to love us and they're just going to be like attracted to us like crazy. Like it was very like non-descriptive. It was like this little tit for tat of like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure it doesn't hurt anybody's will, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, it doesn't hurt anybody's will. It was like drilled into us, even though, mind you, the coven that I was in, it was a type of tradition that you would expect that they would do a lot of crazy spell work over the top. Like you would be like, bro, I want to like learn all these like really dark, deep secrets about Wicca and blah, 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 and magic and all that shit. And you get there and you're just like, so I can't cast any of these type of spells, but I can word it a certain way for then it doesn't harm none. And I sort of kind of get the same results, like a Russian roulette of what it is that I'm going to get.
That sounds like really shitty spell work. The whole point of spell work is to be focused with intention. What about this or something better? Like, hey, I have this in mind and I really would like this. But like, if you want to throw some other stuff in there, that'd be great too.
You can do that too. I mean, it's not like for instance, when you did like let's say you wanted to do a prosperity spell for like a business. And if you wanted to do a prosperity spell, you could say like, oh, I want more customers. I want more customers to come to the store. I want them to want to come to the store. But you couldn't say, I want them to lust over the store. I want them to want to be here all the time and buy everything. In other words, you couldn't make it sticky and sweet. That's the best way I could describe it. They see it as a beacon. They like it. They're cool. But if they want to buy something, only if they want to, kind of a thing. It's like, get them in the door, but don't make them buy anything. It would be like that kind of spell. It wouldn't be like they just have to. They're just like dying to get something from the store.
Very passive-aggressive spell work. So what about like freezer spells or honey jars or stuff like that?
It's really, I don't know, like I never did I've done honey jar. I've done spells, but not while I was Wiccan. While I was Wiccan, I did like maybe like a handful of spells by myself. And here's the thing. I did them not going by necessarily the parameters.
You were a naughty Wiccan.
No, I wasn't necessarily a naughty Wiccan. I won't say that. No, I won't. If you judge me now as a Wiccan, then oh my God, I am a naughty Wiccan. Like you can spank me, baby. You can spank me hard.
We're gonna need that as a sound clip editor. Just that part alone. That's it. That's all we need. That's our
new intro. Yes. 3 Witches 3, you can spank me hard, baby.
I am a naughty Wiccan.
I've been a naughty witch. When I was doing those spells as a sole practitioner, I wasn't thinking to myself, oh, I'm doing something that's, against the Wiccan Rede, do what ye will, harm none. I didn't think that. I was like, oh yeah, that's within the parameters of the specifications. And then when I joined the coven and I actually like had long ethical conversations with the members in the coven, I was like, oh, in that time that I was quote unquote naughty as a Wiccan, and now that I am not a Wiccan and I'm being very naughty, I have not, as far as I've seen, personal experience, the threefold law hit me. I've never
it's coming all today now that you said that.
Oh my God.
Like, there's 1 and there's 2. And lucky number 3.
I've never felt like, well, here goes all, because I did this spell the other day. Shit, man. Now I'm getting it. And mind you, I've been doing this for years. I think the reason I don't is not just because I think it's not that I think, oh, it's total bullshit. I don't feel that I've done anything wrong. And I think that plays a huge part in karma.
It's like a law of attraction thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you believe that you did something wrong and that you should be punished for it, then guess what? That's what you're going to attract. And you're not going to stop paying that law of a quote unquote attraction punishment for what you've done, quote unquote. You're not going to stop paying for it until you stop feeling guilty. That is why I think sociopaths and psychopaths do so fucking well in life, because or being deviant is because they don't feel guilt. They don't think that
they feel entitled to it. Yeah.
They feel entitled to it. So of course they're not going to be that energy, that karma doesn't get them. Before I do a spell, I'm always like, would I hate me if I was the person, if somebody did this spell to me? No, I wouldn't hate me. Okay, then we're going to do the spell. That's how I literally think it.
I'm like, does this bitch really need to shut up? Yes, she does.
Yes, she does.
Raise your spell. You know what I mean? But I'm a little more.
I am the hand of God. Oh, that was very blasphemous. I didn't mean it to be that blasphemous.
No, it's totally true though. Like this, I think this is where it gets tricky for me, is because I'm not really a big believer of karma. I mean, like I believe in karma, but not like most people believe in karma. I don't think it's like, oh, you do this and this thing automatically happens. That's not how it works.
Toss it in the queue, like just queue it up.
You're right. I think it's a little more random and generate. Like we go by percentages here. I know every action has a reaction. Is that what it is?
Equal and opposite reaction.
Right, but there's plenty of those happening simultaneously, so I think we go by averages. That's how I feel about it.
Par for the course, you're pretty decent, so on average, your life should be pretty decent.
Right, exactly.
Like 60% good, because you're 60% good.
Right, I'm sort of chaotic neutral.
That is so D&D right there.
It really was.
But that's how I feel about it, so when I see people in groups saying, oh, your karma's coming at you ×3, I'm like, well, you don't know what my random generator looks like. Go fuck yourself. Yeah. Like,
see,
I had broccoli today. I'm good.
I'm like one of those really crazy, like, pantheist types where I'm just like, whatever system you sign up for is the one that's going to work for you. So if you want the rule of 3, then that's what you get. I'm working on the whole, like, the gods and the planet and the spirits and the critters. We all just want to work together.
It just feels a whole that Wicca. And
I don't piss anyone off too bad.
Well, yeah, but you could go ahead and send the hate mail directly to me, but as a whole, I just feel like Wicca is very judgy.
If we're gonna go there, I just kind of feel like it's the entry-level, like, transitionary phase between Christianity and paganism.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I always just kind of felt like it was Christianity with a skirt on.
I'm not saying that Wicca is a bad thing. It's not a bad religion. It's an okay religion.
They get very into harming people when they don't agree with what someone says.
Yes, they do. They do. I've had a bad experience with that as well. I had an experience. There was this girl who was like, oh, how do I get my boyfriend to not cheat on me? And I had not read all the comments. I was just like, my friend was like, you got to be more active on the group for then people notice you and they get tarot card readings from you and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, let me comment. And I literally just put down, feed him some of your menstrual blood, or take his shoes, his sandals, preferably, because you might not miss them, and nail them to the structure of the house that you share with him or your house. So then he never leaves. And there's this one girl who literally just went apeshit on me on this one, me commenting that. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what did I do? And mind you, this is a group where you have a lot of people that are not at all Wiccans. These are people that are like, do crazy spells that make you sort of go like, I never want to upset you ever. Just want to let you know you're cool. And we're cool, right? We're cool. I never want to even bat my eyes at you. You know, it's that kind of spell work that they do in this particular group. And that's why I never comment, because I'm like, I don't know about them. I'm like, let me not ruffle any feathers.
I'm spitting twice high.
Yeah. And then this one girl is just like, how could you? You know, it's not really her boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. And supposedly in the comments, she admitted that this guy wasn't her boyfriend. It was just a guy that she liked, that she wanted him to be attracted to her. And I was like, that still works, what I told her. It would still work for the situation. So she can do that.
The girl was
and
really
he's
mad
like,
because she was a Wiccan, or what?
I'm assuming she was a Wiccan, or she wasn't a Wiccan, but she still maybe like was still in that Wiccan Rede sort of like I'm not comfortable with not being a Wiccan just yet, but I don't want to be a Wiccan.
Because, you know, even though they say, like, you know, and harm none, do what you will, a lot of that's like a very definitive statement. And if you read the people writing who wrote that statement, you know, Gardner and Doreen Valiente and like Raymond Buckland, who started, you know, that tradition of Wicca in the United States and stuff like that, they're like, nope, that's explicit. That's exactly what that means. There's no wiggle room. And at harm none meaning zero, do what you want. But, a lot of Wiccans apply that, like, only to spell work. So calling people a name and chewing them out over nothing, that doesn't count, because it's not magic. But, like, this is an ethical code, man.
Funny enough that you mentioned that, but in the coven that I was in, I asked, why do they put that in the Wiccan Rede when there's other traditions that, you can cast whatever the heck you want as long as it's part of a spell that is considered part of that tradition, And they were like, oh, because Gerald Garner was noticing that the priestesses that he had initiated, quote unquote, this is like what they said to me. I am not saying that this is fact.
Not necessarily canon, but it's the story you're told.
Exactly. That they were being very catty and casting spells on each other because they wanted to get his favor. And he didn't like that. That he didn't like the cattiness, supposedly. And because of that, he put that in Wicca.
That's cute that, like, Big Daddy Gardner had to keep his girls in line.
Yeah, which is very misogynistic. I know.
I was gonna say.
Very, very misogynistic.
Very. Yes, that's so many stereotypes. I'm kind of very deeply offended right now.
And actually, when I was told that, and I was like, so what? So what if they were? Like, that doesn't mean that we have to be treated like if we're little kids who can't cast certain spells. Because God forbid, if Grandpa Gardner doesn't like our shit, or doesn't like our attitude.
The story that you just told us.
Yeah.
It feels very the opposite of why I got into witchcraft. Because I got into witchcraft because I was raised Baptist, and it's very, very, like, a lot of rules, and it's very misogynistic, and it's very, everybody in their place, and there's things you can do and things you can't do. And for me, witchcraft was this place where I could explore, I could express, I could do my own thing, and I could have my own thoughts about it, and I could use my own judgment and use my own power to get what I want, to get what I need. And it didn't matter if I wanted it or needed it, I could still get it. You know what I mean? Because like there's this whole thing about, well, if you don't need it, then why would you ask for it? Well, bitch, because I want it. For me, spellcasting is very much about my rules, bitch. This whole idea of someone telling me what to do is kind of the antithesis of what I'm about. And I didn't do well in Baptist Christianity, and then I saw this construct of Wiccan or Wicca, and I was like, it just feels too similar. And now I got judgy bitches telling me what to do. Judgy patriarchy telling me what to do. Now I just got judgy bitches telling me what to do. And I'm like, I don't know which is worse.
Who are all validated because they got the word from Gardner.
Right. He was a man. The stuff that I see on Facebook, the stuff I see on YouTube, the stuff I see elsewhere, it does have that, like, fire and brimstone feel, but just the spellcast version.
And that's my feeling, too, is, like, we're going to take the Christian deity and give him a gender swap, and then we're going to add some magic to it, and then or add some magic back to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because there used to be a lot of magic in Christianity back in the day. I don't know. It was too close to the stuff I was already not interested in.
Most of the people that I know that I met while I was Wiccan are no longer Wiccan. They've either moved away from spirituality or like Wicca and witchcraft in general, or they've become like they practice hoodoo or like a darker form of magic, or just something a little bit more what would you would consider to be more intense magically, and not so pretty and aesthetically pleasing in that sense, I guess you could say.
Fluffy, I think, is the word you're looking for.
The what?
Fluffy.
Fluffy.
Yeah, I'm trying not to say fluffy. I find fluffy to be like rude because sometimes, sometimes it does apply and sometimes it doesn't. And it's like for me, it's like an unnecessary, like, bad word.
Fluffy?
Yeah.
It's like woo-woo. I like woo. Like, I like woo all the time.
I like woo-woo. I'm perfectly fine with woo-woo or woo.
What was your nickname, Heather?
Fluffy.
That's her nickname.
My nickname is Fluffy because people think I'm so love and light, and then I'm all like, you know me? Like,
You're not love and light.
Oh, the irony. The way we feel about words is a funny thing.
It is. But weren't you saying, Charlene, that you feel like Wicca is kind of it's like that what's the word? I don't even look.
Intermediary step.
That's intermediate, yeah.
Yeah, between monotheistic religions and paganism. Kind of like a good way to ease your way in.
Because
Yeah.
it's safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's a half step.
The thing about Wicca that makes it, for most people, not all people, but for most people, it makes it enticing. It's because you get all the cool witchy stuff with, or at least you think you do, without any of the you're going to hell or you're evil or you're, you know, depending on what religion you come from originally, if you had any. It's sort of like that easy sort of like, you're not going to hell, you're not evil, you're not worshiping the devil. Hey, it's okay.
We're not
It's
bad.
okay.
We're
Hey,
all
not
good
bad.
and moral, and we're doing the same things. We just have a different goddess.
Yeah. We're just trying to save the world with our love of witchcraft and the goddess and blah, blah, blah. And I'm there like, I mean, for the time that I was Wiccan, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome.
They're a good way for people to ease into the New Age spiritual community without having to dive in deep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a good introduction.
Yeah. And some people stay in Wicca because that's where they feel the most comfortable. That is okay. If you're not the type of person that you want to do something more than just like protective spells or prosperity spell or like happy spells and all that stuff, that's okay. I mean, I know I'm not saying that Wicca sucks or anything like that, or if it's bad or anything. I'm more of along the lines of, this is my experience and this is how I feel about it now. But I mean, if it's your bag, it's your bag, and you should be proud of it. You should be okay with it.
I don't know. All the Wiccans I've encountered, most of them, 70-30, have been mean.
In every religion, it doesn't even matter if it's Wicca. It's like every religion. You're going to find those freaking purist elite mentality in a religion or in a group setting. You're going to find it.
Seems more in the Wicca community.
Yes, it is more in the Wiccan community.
It's like love and lighters, light workers, and Wicca seem to be the biggest assholes on the planet. I do not know, like, if you're love and light and you're supposed to be good, how come you're the meanest assholes? I don't get it.
You know, when I was in the process of going from Wicca to where I am now, where I was in that middle ground that I wasn't sure if I wanted to hex someone or not that have I ever hexed? Well, I don't even remember if I hexed anybody. You got to think about that. That's how much I really just am not so concerned about it like I was when I was Wiccan, that I'm just like, have I ever hexed anybody? I got to think about that. Did I do that last week? You know, like it's one of those kind of things. I was still not comfortable with doing certain spells that I am now at the time. And what really made me go, okay, yeah, I'm done. We're good. I think I'm going to be fine doing these type of spells. I think I'm going to be fine going in the direction that I feel most comfortable. You know what it was? Funny enough, I was getting a Reiki treatment, and it was great. It was like, oh my God, the Reiki treatment was great. I have nothing wrong with that Reiki treatment. And I love Reiki, by the way. Guy who had done the Reiki on me said like, oh, well, you know, like they give you like after a Reiki session, normally the Reiki master gives you like a lowdown of what they feel in your energy and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. And he said something along the lines of, because he knew that I was a witch, and I didn't mention that I was Wiccan or not Wiccan. I just said, I do witchcraft. That's all I said to him. And he's like, oh, just to let you know, witchcraft is not good, blah, 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 blah. And he gave me like, and mind you, this is a guy who's not a Christian. He's not religious in that way. He's very like love and light. He's a complete light worker. And he gave me this sort of like Christian sort of look, and like the way that Christians look at me when I tell them that I'm a witch, and they give me like the, sweetie, let me talk to you about Jesus because you don't know what you're doing.
Let me mansplain you.
Yeah. And I was just like, thank you for the session. That was really enlightening. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later. Bye, 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 bye. And I left, and I was just like, yeah, this is total bullshit. I'm not doing this anymore. If I even get it in the spiritual community, that same sort of looking down on me because I'm not, all love and light and pretty flowers and all that shit, then I don't want to be part of that community either. I need to figure out my own shit my way and do it my way and not give a shit about anybody else.
A lot of New Agers are still very much love and light. I know, because I grew up in the New Age community. My mom was a metaphysician and not a witch. I am a witch. which is a different thing. And I very much grew up with the stigma in the community that, like, that is a line we don't cross. You can do anything you want, but once you get to the point where we're talking about, like, spells, then you fucked up.
Is it the intent?
No, right? Because, like, you can do, you can
I think it's more the
imagine a
wording.
shield around you, or you could cast a circle. That's the same intent, right? But one's evil
Yeah.
and playing with dark forces, and the other one's fine. There's no way you could ever hurt yourself. That's the word. That's the connotation in the community. Not that those things are actually true. Because you can absolutely hurt yourself with just energy. It's fine. But, you know, but that's the way the community treats it. Like, once you cross this line into doing actual spell work, playing with dark forces.
It's kind of how I feel about what people think about hoodoo, like any kind of root work or earthly magic. It's okay to do a prosperity spell, or it's okay to do, air quotes, white spell, but if you go anywhere out of the white light area, then it's automatically bad. Like, it's just, I feel like abundant spell or prosperity spells, I mean, I know that that's like, air quotes, white magic, but it's very selfish.
Yeah.
You're kind of bending.
The other thing is also the mindset. Like,
you're bending energy to your will, though.
That is all energy work and magic is. Like, that's the definition of
right.
it. Yeah. All of it. Like, protection, healing, blessings, prayer, all of it is bending energy to your will.
Right. So if I want that person to shut up, or if I want money, what's the difference?
Right? So I know a lot of people draw the line at, like, affecting other people's free will or whatever, but, like, I feel like, especially a lot of people, you know, in these podcasts you've heard me talk a lot, like, growing up and dealing with different groups and communities and kind of getting shunned here and there and kicked out of various communities over and over and over again. So I do kind of have a chip on my shoulder. Ethics is a sticky, murky thing, and you can't just throw a solid rule that is like, thou shalt never do this thing, because for every thou shalt never, there's going to be an exception where you're like, well, okay, in that instance.
What if that person shutting up is the thing that keeps me safe, or keeps me protected,
or alive,
or it keeps me from losing my shit? That to me is the same as getting money, because I need money to buy groceries so I can eat. I need this chick to shut up so that I don't kill anybody. To me, it's kind of the same thing. You know, it's my space, my time, my stuff.
See, I can understand that. I can understand that completely. But here's the thing. There are some Wiccans that are, oh no, but you can't affect them. You can't affect that person. You, like, for instance, if I'm in business with myself and, like, my friend Brenda, let's say, right? And we decide that we're going to open a social media marketing agency. And I want to make a spell to get us to have a lot of money, or, like, a lot of clients and this and that. The perception of those really, like, hardcore Wiccans that have that mentality, like, no, you can't bend anybody's will, then their idea would be like, well, you have to ask Brenda if that's okay, because it's her business too. So you would be bending her will for her to get clients too, for then you both get clients, or like the business does, because you have to word it or you have to word it a certain way that she don't bend her will. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's okay with that. But, like, what if Brenda happens to be a Christian and she's okay with me doing my shit, but she's not okay if, you know, she's like, I just don't want to have anything to do with magic or spell work. Then what? You know, she would probably say no. But at the same time, if she said, you know, like, would she energetically accept that energy? Fuck yeah, I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and that's like, in taking that example, by the same ethical code, you also have to make sure that you ask Brenda before you advertise your social media company in any group or on any platform, or talk to any friends about it, because she might not want that business.
Exactly. Here, that's the thing that I've also noticed.
Is restricting your free will.
Exactly. Right. And here's another scenario.
It's like we're all dating now.
What if you go to a job interview, right? And you say, well, I'm gonna do a spell, so then my possible boss who's gonna interview me will like me. Oh, but I might be bending his will in doing that, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. Okay, so what's the difference between you doing that and then you going to the job interview with, like, your best outfit, your best suit, your best clothes, your best smile, your best makeup, your best hairdo. You go all out. Isn't that considered
Exactly.
the same thing? You're still bending their will, because if you go dressed like you really are, dressed like how you really are, you're gonna go in like jeans and a t-shirt, and they're not gonna hire you. But hey, you're being honest, and you're not bending his will.
This ethical code only applies to spell work. It doesn't to any other actions that they take. Like, they can go ahead and sabotage people in real life and manipulate them and yell at them and assault them verbally and emotionally and stuff, and that's fine. But if there's a ritual involved, then that's not okay.
And apparently you can be a dick in a Facebook group, and it's perfectly within the Wiccan Rede.
Or social media in general. I mean, because
Right.
and Twitter and all those as well.
You can just judge everyone mercilessly.
My great frustration with it is, for one, like, it doesn't allow for nuance and context and stuff, and also they're being very picky and choosing when they're applying their ethics.
Yeah.
Like, ethics only apply to spell work, but they don't apply to the rest of it.
Right, exactly. But so there's like this thing where, like, okay, so you're in a group, and 90% of the time people want some kind of spell to get somebody back. And so if I know a spell, I'm just gonna type it out and be like, be on your merry way, have fun with that. You know what I mean? Like, no judgment. I don't know what the situation is. So underneath my cool spell, there's gonna be 300 comments from mostly Wiccans who are like, are you sure you want to do that? You really shouldn't do that. You're bending people's will. Maybe if he isn't with you and he cheated on you, then why would you want that guy? Like, get some self-esteem. Just blah, 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 blah. And I'm always like, she didn't ask for your opinion. She just asked for a spell. Like,
Yep.
We don't know the situation. We only know the 10 words that she put down.
Right, you're making a lot
You
of
know what I-
assumptions about her and judging her pretty harshly, like, based on a whole lot of nothing that you don't know.
And I think she can make a decision on all her own. Like, who are we to do that? I mean, somebody asked, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing a hexing spell. Do you have something similar to that? And I'm like, yeah, boomerang spell works really well. And then underneath that were like 300 comments about how it's still hexing and how it's bad. And why would you want to do that? Just go on your merry way, write it out, do a banishing ritual and be done with it.
Yeah,
I'm like, she didn't ask for a banishing ritual.
it's kind of like the context of preaching abstinence over safe hexing. If they don't find it in a loving community and they can't talk to people that they trust about it, they're going to search Google instead and find it on their own. You're not going to stop them.
And here's the other thing. Who says that everybody follows the same law or the same ethics? Just because you're Wiccan and it says that you can't do so and so doesn't mean that a witch who is not Wiccan doesn't mean that they can't curse people.
People in Western society believe that there's one true reality and one true God and one true religion, and that everyone who doesn't believe what they believe is wrong.
Yeah, I see what you're saying and I get it, but like feel like bathing into the shallow waters of Christianity at this point when you go that direction.
That kind of dogmatic, there can only be one reality, I know what it is, and you need me to tell you what it is because you're obviously too infantile to figure it out, is very much a product of Western society, i.e. Christianization and colonization.
Yeah, see, that's the part that really, really bothers me is that these people in these groups, and I'm talking about it again, but the people in the groups, they're very much like, you must not know what this spell does if you're asking for it. And it's like, no, maybe she just doesn't have anybody to talk to because she lives in Minnesota and there's nobody around that does spell work.
And everyone's
so she's got
saying like, oh, you're not allowed to do that, so we're not going to tell you.
She has a few books and this one Facebook group, and so she's trying her might with all her might to like get it right. And so she figures, hey, I'm in this group, so somebody must know. And then she gets preached at because, she must not know. And it's like, even if she were to do the spell wrong, and even if she fails at it, then that's still a learning experience. And the next time she's going to do it better.
And that's kind of like how I feel about it. Like, preaching at them isn't going to stop them. They're just going to find another way.
Right.
Yeah.
So
It's like kids when they first their hormones are going crazy and they want to have sex. You can tell them that they can't have sex. They're gonna find a way to do it. Might as well give them condoms.
And that's what I mean by preaching abstinence instead of protection. Like,
Yeah.
At the very least, if you have a group that is supportive in a community, when it all goes wrong, like some people assume it will, they'll have a community around them to help them figure out why it went wrong and put it back together again.
Yeah, don't alienate the people that want to cast certain spells.
I'm fiercely protective of our newer members of the community, and I think shaming and berating and bullying them because they ask a question is not the way to teach or support or help them grow or learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of a dick move. I think it's a good way to chase people out of the community and continue to make people think that witches are terrible people. It's the dogmatic part of the Wiccan thing. And I also think that, like, cute rhyming rules like that are really great, but they don't allow you to have that deep thought about ethics and ethical situations and stuff. It's just a convenient rule you can pull out whenever you feel uncomfortable. And it keeps you from doing the deep thinking.
Should witchcraft make you do the deep thinking? Because you're like, okay, who am I? What do I really want in my life? What do I desire? How am I going to make this happen in my life? How am I going to manifest this? Like, what is my code of ethics? Why do I feel this way? Did somebody tell me this? Did somebody make me think this? Or is this something that I actually think myself? Like these are the kinds of things, when I do witchcraft, these are the kinds of things I think about. When I want to do a banishing spell, like, what am I really banishing? Am I banishing a thought? Am I banishing a feeling? Or am I just banishing a whole aspect of my life?
Am I banishing a person, or am I banishing what this person represents to me? Or am I banishing the feelings that are triggered when I see them?
Exactly. And you go into that, for me anyway, I go into that, like, deep place with myself, and I really have to, like, examine my shadow side, and I have to examine my needs and desires and wants, and that makes me feel very empowered, because at any given moment I feel like I at least have some awareness of who I am and where I am in my life and why. And I don't think I would be able to do that if I had to have all these rules be thrown at me all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and ethics is a complex topic because humans are complex beings, and so as we tend to do this thing where we want to, like, quip quick rules, like, never do this, always do that, da-da-da-da, as if it were black and white, but there's no such thing in ethics.
You know, it's our podcast and it's our opinions, and if you have opinions, get a podcast, and you can send it to us, or you can send hate mail or whatever, but these are the kinds of things, this is why we made this podcast, is because these kinds of things need to be said, and there's just too much of the other stuff out there. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Boom. Mic drop. Done. I feel good about that closing statement. I don't have anything to add.
Alrighty then. I can't wait for the hate mail.
Well, but nobody checks that email for the website, right? So we can just direct everyone.
It'll be on Maria's YouTube. So we don't have to worry about it.
There we go. That'll be fine.
God help me.
If you're one of the 3 people listening and you do like what we have to say and you like us, please make sure to follow us, to
give us a thumbs up and hit that notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe.
Definitely all those things, because there'll be more of this in the future.
Thank you for listening to the We Witches 3 podcast. For show notes and links, please go to www.wewitches3.com.